share it with very serious-minded people, and they get back to me and say, do I believe this? But I say, you have to know what people think. You know, and then lastly, massive internally displaced people and refugees. These are source of security. I was in Maiduguri, I was told that every blessed day, if there's no naming ceremony, is 40. Every blessed day in the IDP camps, 40. You know, where would these kids go to? 40 times 7, those good in mathematics, that's in a week. You know, multiply that by 30, by 366. Every day in the camp, there's naming ceremony. Can I stop or continue?
20 minutes you've had.
Oh. So the prospects, what are the prospects? We have to increase bilateral and economic cooperation so that each neighboring nation will have a stake. If Nigeria goes down, they will go down. If Nigeria goes up, they will go up. So we have to integrate our bilateral economic relationship. We have to increase the regional cooperation. ECOWAS for now is not good. It's Francophone versus Anglophone. If they cannot neutralize that division, ECOWAS will just be tea and coffee venue. Mitigating impact of climate change in the region, particularly the Sahel region. If you don't mitigate that climate change, there'll be no way you can solve that problem. You have to reform the natural resources and the mining sector. You know, you have to reform how those natural resources are exploited, how minings are done. You have to improve the livelihood and support, most especially the border communities. You have to make them believe they are Nigerians. And at the same time, the other country has to believe that these border communities are their source of livelihood. So they can share information. They can block insecurity.
Okay,
you have to institutionalize.
I'm so sorry. It's just, there will be questions.
That is okay.
I promise you, because it's really
no
interesting.
No
Thank you so much. And actually, you're speaking on my area, which is peace and security. So I'm really interested. I was following everything. But I also know, because I'm in that area, that there's more. So we'll stop now and we'll take questions later. Okay. I think it's time to go online to our next speaker. And that will be, if I may just do this a second, the Honourable Aminu Abimbola, who is the former Mayor of Lambeth. Thank you. 10 minutes, please.
Councillor Aminu, you have the floor now. Can you please unmute yourself? Councillor Aminu. Councillor Ade Aminu. Okay, I guess we'll probably come back to him again. Yeah, thank you.
Invite our next speaker up here, and that will be Professor Chris Imafidon. Told, are you not ready? Not quite ready. Okay. All right. Let me see if we've got someone.
Shall we play the message from,
that would be fantastic. Yes, that would be fantastic. We have a recorded message for you. Thank you.
Can I introduce the Nikhil here? Do you have, let me say
No,
one
you
or two
do it.
things
You
about
do
it.
it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Both those who are here and those who are watching. We got a message of a goodwill message from Nick Ildiad. Nick Ildiad is an Englishman who is Nigerian at heart. He goes to Nigeria quite frequently, mostly on anti-corruption, development of capacity of the EFCC, the ICPC, and the Code of Conduct Bureau. He is a friend of the house, believes passionately in Africa and in Nigeria, and he would have loved to be here today, but he has urgent family matters holding him right as we speak. Hence, he decided to send his own message. It's short. We wouldn't have any problems having to stop him because his message is timed and we will just play it as a video. So, Nick Ildiad, of Corner House. Corner House is a UK, I would say, NGO, because they do more than just corruption. They do environmental issues and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just wish to apologize. We have a bit of a hitch with our laptop there to play the video. So we're just trying to get the management of this building to come and sort it out for us, because it's been a bit of an issue since we've started. But I'm sure in the next couple of minutes we'll be able to get it working again. So please bear with us. You might as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Get the floor.
Thank you very much.
Got 2 minutes. Just the 2. Just the 2 minutes.
2 minutes, I assure you that. So as I was saying that we need to improve the livelihood and support most especially those at our border communities, because that will be the source of having information regarding any security issues. It starts from there. They infiltrate your country. So if you make them stakeholders, there's a likelihood that you may get some information. We have to institutionalize broader peace management. And we have to diffuse and formalize mutual relationships and benefits to contiguous border communities. I said it much earlier. We have to make them stakeholders. And then integrating traditional mediation mechanisms into our governance. Even the British, particularly in the northern part of the country when they came, they did what they call indirect governance. Why? Because there are the infrastructure, there are the knowledges. But with the Dasuki local government reform in Nigeria, sometimes in the 70s, these traditional rulers, as expensive as they are to government and taxpayers today, they are irrelevant. They are just ceremonial piece of institution. They call them father of this, father of that, but it's not true. They are irrelevant. The Constitution is completely silent about them. But these people are custodians of our values, cultures, knowledge. As long as we don't integrate them into the management of particularly local conflicts and local intelligence, we'll continue to have probably in our hand. Then we have to reduce the educational framework across regions in the West Africa and in country. The educational system in the French Francophone country is different from the educational system in the Anglophone country. For that reason, there is no point of convergence, but there is more a point of divergence. You know, the French emphasize who they are and what they mean to those people. The English don't emphasize that, but they have already made us to emphasize it on their behalf. So the two educations have no convergence point between the Anglophone and the Francophone. And second to the last, liberal and sustained financial grants and loans to groups that are productive. We have to subsidize those groups. The women, the youth, widows, orphans, name them. Simply in Nigeria, there is no means of raising capital to do the most basic of any business. Even a vulcanizer cannot raise money. Yes, we know you may need collateral, the bankers will tell you that, but leave the bankers with the organized sector. For the non-organized sector, government must find a means and ways of supporting these people. And lastly, Mr. Moderator, up to now, there is no ownership and responsibilities of citizens all over West African nations. They look at government as strange, far away from them. Yet the constitution have very nice wordings, very attractive wordings, but it means nothing to these people. Up to today in Nigeria, the constitution is in English. How many people read that? Even if you can read and speak English, it's so technical. You can hardly get meaning out of it. So people don't know their responsibility as citizens. And for that reason, they don't take up the ownership of their citizenship. You know, as far as they are concerned, all these bandits, kidnappers, insurgents, separatists, secessionists, is government problem. It has nothing to do with them. But that will not work until we find means and ways of making our citizens accept their citizenship and the responsibilities that goes with them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are you going to be the next speaker, Benga? It seems to still be working. Okay, all right. Okay, our next speaker is Professor Chris Imafidon, and I'm told he needs no introduction, that is well known to everybody, but I will give a slight introduction and I'll leave him to do the rest. So, Professor Imafidon, I've chosen today to highlight your work as chair of the Excellence in Education Programme, a UK-based charity, and I see you're in your formal robes. We're honoured. And thank you. And you have 10 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. It gives me great joy and pleasure to be able to address this august occasion. Nothing excites me like Africa. No matter how long you've been away, no matter how much you've climbed, it's impossible for you to cut yourself from your umbilical cord. And what is more, the only reason I'm able to stand before you today is because of an African woman. My grandmother made whatever accomplishments I've made. She made it possible because when I went to school at the age of 5, I was told by my teachers that I was autistic, which meant I was disabled, which meant I couldn't learn. And when I got home, I told my mother, guess what? My teacher said, I'm autistic. It means I can't learn. And my mother would do what every sensible mother would do. She called for reinforcement from her own mother. So my grandmother matched down. What the teacher didn't know was that I had a senior brother who died at the age of 2. And then came another brother who died at the age of 18 months. So when I survived up to the age of 5 and went to school, who is that teacher that will tell my grandmother that the one that survived will not amount to anything. So she essentially became my teacher. And she told me at home that, you see, what those things they said you didn't get right the first time, is natural. Because if you can remember when you took your first step, you fell. Then you got up. And then you fell and you got up until you started to walk. My grandmother told me that's what education is all about. Is ability to explore, experiment, and overcome. Education is not about sitting in one room and getting a bundle of knowledge pumped into you. And it's very sad because my other friends that were told that were autistic, they believed the piece of paper that the school gave them and literally dropped out of school. But my grandmother, you're wasting your time. She can jumpstart a jumbo jet. You know jumbo jets? If it doesn't start, she can jumpstart it. That's how convinced she was about anybody that had so-called educational difficulties. So whatever I have accomplished today is down to a true Nigerian. And the seed can never, ever forget the tree. And the tree can never forget the seed. So no matter how many, thank you very much, no matter how many prizes I win, no matter how many times the Guinness Book of Records lists my name, it's still down to one woman that didn't believe in what any other person believed and redesigned our own curriculum for learning and made sure that, hey, there's a genius in you. We have to wake up that genius. Until we wake up that genius, we're not going to let go. So it brings me to the issue we are looking at today, the technicalities and the legalities of transparency and anti-corruption. Because this knowledge that my grandmother handed me, the biggest thing, became too big for a piece of paper. And in 1970, I don't know whether you're a Jehovah's Witness here, the Jehovah's Witnesses told us that the world was going to end in 1970. And some people mocked them, and some people believed them. They started thinking that they didn't believe it. But it is true, because in 1970, the world as we knew it ended. It was in 1969, they experimented with what is called the APRANET, a piece of electronic device sitting at the University of Stanford in California, was able to send one packet to another university, Utah, and was able to send another packet to UCLA. That was what became the backbone of what we call the internet today. And that has changed everything. So if you do not believe that the internet is real, there's something that you're drinking that is very strong. And we need to wake you up from it. So most of the things we've achieved, and we're just looking at it, if you can about the slide, please. These are, if you want to know more about who I am, what I've done, you can Google it and you can get that as much as you like on Google. But look at this young man standing next to me. He was told exactly the same thing in school as I was told. And he met me and said, I've heard you in newspapers, and I've read you, and I heard you're very good at making bad children learn better in school. I said, are you sure? I said, yes. I said, can you mentor me? I said, are you sure? And I interacted with him, showed him a formula, an algorithm. And we forgot it. We discussed and I left it. Ladies and gentlemen, at the age of 17, I don't want you to believe what I'm saying. I want you to take a photograph of this particular slide. I want you to look at that URL. At the age of 17, he wrote one app. That app sold for $30 million. So when you talk about Nigerian resources and focus on what is beneath our feet, you are mistaken. Nigeria has better than oil. Nigeria has better than gold. Nigeria has brain cells in our children. And we got to tell them that story and prove it to them. Because that's him. His father and mother have worked For over 20 years, they haven't worked, they haven't received 1 million. And he got $30 million at the age of 17. At 17, I asked for pocket money from my parents. At 17, he's giving pocket money to his own parents. If you'd like to advance the slides, please. You might say, oh, why am I talking about this? Data is not just the new oil. Data surpasses the oil that we have. If we take this out, transparency will come up immediately in Nigeria. And I'm going to prove it to you. Because I had a discussion, that's Bloomberg, the gentleman at the bottom here. His name is Michael Bloomberg. I need you to write it down. We had a dinner at the Serpentine here in London. And after the dinner, I was asking him, he asked me, what do I do? I told him, they're asking, what do you do? What is really core business? What he told me made me shake my head, and I couldn't sleep that night. He's in the data business. Bloomberg does not bring new information. He takes information from the BBC and from anybody, he puts it in context. He became a multi-billionaire. He doesn't have an oil well. He doesn't need one. And he's a global entity. And he explained to me that what he did, any fool can do it. You don't need a PhD in computer science to be able to put knowledge in context for anybody to digest easily. Next to him is a gentleman called Jack Dorsey. I wrote a piece in the African Voice, and I'll lead you to go and get it. And I hope everybody here gets a copy before you go. Jack Dorsey had a mother and wanted to communicate with his mother. And therefore he played with data. And he explained to me that his only product and commodity, ladies and gentlemen, is data. He's a multi-billionaire. You all know him as the CEO and co-founder of Twitter. He is not just a multi-billionaire. Some people call him God because he's bigger than the biggest president on planet Earth. He can switch your account off. That's a young man. I can give you full transcript of the discussion we had. And so when you get home tonight, look at your 3-year-old, your 7-year-old, and your 10-year-old, and let them know that as teenagers, they are richer than the richest people running around in Nigeria, thinking they own Africa, not knowing that, like they say, the spirit has departed from Saul, yet he thinks he still has a semblance of power. The economic power you have in Nigeria today is on lease. The real owners are those that are younger than 21 years old. And I'm going to show you. If you'd like to advance the slide. And that's what you saw for saying that. Now here comes home. This is Omotola Akerele. I want you to capture this screen because this is the University of Oxford. Of all universities on planet Earth, where intellectual sagacity is their main talk. Omotola Akerele met me just like the other young man met me and said in school, they told her because she's black, because she's from Hackney, because she's coming from a low performance school, she shouldn't even try to apply to Oxford at all. You don't have the abilities. And the teachers looked at her and said, from year 7 to year 11, you've not shown that you can belong to the top set. What is more, last year, the Prime Minister's son, eldest son, applied to Oxford and was denied. That was Tony Blair's son, Ewan Blair. What stance have you got if you are from a home in Hackney and nobody in our entire family has ever spread the word university, let alone attend one? Anyway, I worked with her. I showed her the same formula. Same formula. A black girl from Hackney, from a school that has never sent anybody to Oxford. She not only got into Oxford, ladies and gentlemen, she got into Oxford on a scholarship. Omotola Akerele, does that sound English? She got a top English degree. Omotola Akerele, does that sound English? She wrote for the Times newspaper. The quintessential English newspaper. So when I'm telling you about the new generation of Nigerians that will redefine the landscape, these are the people I'm talking about. She has 2 Nigerian names. She doesn't even have an English name like Grace or Hannah. She topped the class in Oxford. Look at what Oxford said. of all the people that have been through the university. Oxford showed us, look, these are our top players. Number one, can you see that? When I saw this, I told my wife, when I die, please put this on a t-shirt and bury me with it. If I've not done anything on planet Earth. Look at what they're saying. This is a little girl from Hackney that was told she was nobody and nobody and for nobody. Now being listed with Adam Smith, the father of economics. Christopher Wren, the gentleman that designed St. Paul's Cathedral. Look at it. All of the prime ministers. What I'm trying to tell you, there are 3 Omotolas in your house today that you have not identified. We've not worked with. There are several other girls that we need to identify. So please, can you advance the slide for me, please? Because we need to know what we have. If we don't know what we have, we'll invest in other things. When Michelle Obama came to London, people were queuing up to see her. Presidents were begging to take her autograph. She was interacting with Omotola Akerele, a little black girl, Nigerian girl, whose teachers told her she can't amount to anything. You think I'm trying to entertain you? Please, if you DM me tonight, I will send you a copy of Michelle Obama's autobiography. The book she wrote about her life, she included that girl there. I'm not here for a conference. I'm not here for a seminar. I'm here for a family meeting. And we must know that our biggest asset are the children that came out of our womb. Not the nonsense that is below our feet. We got something better than that. Please, can you advise that for me, please? Because I need to give you sample. Can you see this? This is a black girl. Can you advise that? Because I need everybody to know. Can you see this? Asa Ben Ainsley, 6-time Olympic champion, hobnobbing with the same person. Can you advance this? Because I need all of you to see this. I will fool you if I start boring with Anne-Marie Imafidon. My eldest daughter, who understood and spoke 6 languages before she left primary school, who at the age of 13 was given multiple scholarships, who at 15, Oxford, BBC says, became the youngest master's student at 17. Invest because they tell you that the girls cannot achieve and nobody can achieve. Thank you. And we're just going to run through because I need to bore you to death so that tomorrow when you go out, you grab your cousin, you grab your niece, you grab your nephew, you show them this and say, do likewise. Don't fool around with this my generation. My generation failed. We give excuses. My generation is the excusiologist generation. We tell you what the British did and what the French did. They go to Tanzania. In the case of 4 years, the last Tanzanian president, who just passed on, changed Tanzania from being a poor economy to a middle-income economy. You didn't need the permission of the British. You don't need the permission of the British. You didn't need the permission to change the currency to Naira. Did you have the permission of the British? Did you have the permission of the British to change the road, the way you drove, on the left side to the right side? Did you have permission of the British? It's like a teenager blaming his father for everything. It's either your gene or your environment. You created both. And we need to wake up. Now look at this young lady. Please write her name down. Her name is Chimemela Agbara. Chimemela Agbara. Does that sound German? Does that sound German? Her name is Chimemela Agbara. Check the Guinness Book of Records. She's the youngest girl ever to pass the German GCSE. On record. She's an Igbo. You know, when they wrote the German exam, so they told me, oh, German is very hard. I said, ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. They said, no, German is very difficult. I told her, look, what my grandmother said, you won't get it right the first time, but try again. And she tried again, and she tried. Her German teacher wrote to AQA in 2006. I remember the exact date in August. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. The German wrote, she will fail because she's attending at a very young age. And gave 15 reasons why she will fail. Not knowing that she's got my mother's formula. You try, and you try, and you try again. Because the more you try, the better you become at it. When she wrote the exam, I was just praying that she should get a C. She didn't get a C. She didn't get a B. She didn't get an A. She got an A star. And I was dancing. And my wife was saying, what's your business in it? I said, you don't understand. My grandmama is gone. There's nobody that articulates what she knows about education. But I just spoke to somebody I didn't know. She's not related to me. And she wrote the exam, and they checked it. Of all the scripts, she got the highest in the country. She didn't just get an A star. She was invited to Wall Street. She just moved from Swiss Scot. She is Nigerian. Okay, can you advance that? I just want to rush and give them, oh, this is Joshua. This Joshua will blow your mind. Let's go for Samson. Here is the generation that will correct everything we did. I need you to write this down. Sam or Dutton. Sam or Dutton. In the midst of this pandemic. In the midst of this pandemic, he sent me, he was one of my mentees, he sent me his draft. Do you know what happened? The draft of an application he developed that works on the back of Zoom and Teams. You know, we had so many meetings during the pandemic, so you have 5 Zoom meetings, you can attend all 5 at the same time. He worked it out with a formula. The first time he tried, he failed. Second time he tried, he failed. Third time he tried, he failed. Then he tried again. And that software that he designed, ladies and gentlemen, earned him $14 million in the midst of a pandemic. In the midst of a pandemic, he just finished. $14 million. So every Nigerian I see that is a teenager, younger than 21, that is able to try, is a multi-millionaire in dollars. Not because I said it, but because they have it in them. I have a mechanic in Kanu. He doesn't have a degree in engineering. A teenager, he modified the engine of a Nissan and put it inside a Mercedes and she drove. Did you hear that? He doesn't have a degree in mechanical engineering. There's so much in every Nigerian child. I want to adopt all of them and become the father-in-chief and speak to them what God will have spoken to them. So that they know, let the foolish generation that is drunk on oil, let them go drink oil. Let those that are political, let them go do politics. But Silicon Valley is paying some Lagos boys $3,000 every month because of the power of their understanding of social media. I'm not promising you this. I have seen the papers. They're not Yahoo boys. They program in Python. And they go to work every day on their cell phone. They don't even have a laptop. They don't have a computer. The more you make it difficult for the Nigerian boy, the more he finds a way around it. The more you make it difficult for the Nigerian girl, the more he takes around it. Just ignore what everybody is saying or what everybody is saying about Abuja. You have an A in you. And I need everybody to know that. Because this is the generation that will change this world and make Nigeria, because Nigeria is bigger than Nigeria. Whatever happens in Nigeria happens in Africa. So don't tell me there's somebody called Kanu or Igboho or all those individuals are irrelevant. They're name players. They don't have a stake. Do they understand what Africa is? Countries are coming together so that they can do business together. And you're heading in the wrong direction. This hashtag generation will correct. I have so much faith and confidence in the younger ones. I can put on my feet and smile because God gave them the cell phone. The cell phone that you have right now is your weapon of mass destruction. The cell phone you have is your weapon of mass education. The cell phone you have is your weapon of wealth creation. All you need to know is understand that the power of the cell phone you have is 700 times more powerful than the entire computer of NASA that put Apollo 11 on the moon. Can you understand? To whom much is given, much is expected. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That was so... Wow. Thank you so much. That was so inspirational. And I took everything on board there. I'm practicing a little bit in my teaching, in my lecturing, of what your grandmother and your mother were talking. We call it active learning these days. And it's very much encouraged And my students certainly benefit from it. It means putting into practice rather than just reading, because it goes in a little bit deeper and stays there. You don't lose that. Deep learning. Okay, so thank you so much. That was so inspirational, and I hope you don't mind. But I tweeted that you were giving us great inspiration in this room. So thank you. Thank you. All right, okay. So our people are our greatest wealth, without a doubt. And yet we treat our people quite poorly. So that's the takeaway I'd like you all to think on as we move on through this evening. So our next speaker is is the recorded video. Thank you. If we can get it working. Oh, wow.
That's really insightful, and I expect a lot from that man if he's exposed to all this fountain of knowledge.
Yes, of course. I feel very much like sending my son straight there as well. He could do with some help. I'm joking. Okay, all right. So our video, if it's ready. You, I think. I think it has to be. Okay. We haven't had any.
Sorry? Professor Ali?
The next one. Okay. So while we wait, can I just thank those people who are joining us on Teams this evening?
Zoom.
On Zoom. Sorry, we use Teams at the university. On Zoom this evening. I know we appreciate you being here with us and staying with us. And I know it's never easy being at that end of the screen and not being able to share in person as we are. And one of our speakers actually said something that was very interesting, and that was Mr. Suraju. He said something along the lines of he had bandwidth problems. Otherwise, he would have liked to be able to see our body language while he was speaking, and body language is so key to understanding. You're nodding because you're watching me tell you how important it is that I'm doing this, right? And you don't get that perhaps if you're able to visualize. We couldn't see what he was saying, but certainly we understood him. So that was very important that he joined us. Are we ready?
Give me 2 seconds.
2 seconds. So I hope those of you here are benefiting as much as I am. I have questions for you. Of course, on your talk, I said we're in the same area, and I'll bring my questions later, but I saw that there's a divergence in our thinking on 2 critical issues, and I'll just tell you so you can prepare. One is on the idea that Nigeria really has no interest in its neighbors' problems. And I disagree with that. And my position, I think, follows the African Union position. The reason for it was set up is if your house is burning, if your brother's house or your neighbor's house is burning, you cannot, and your house is next door, you cannot ignore that fire. You've got to help. And it follows on something you said, which is, it's in the interest of the external powers. I think it's in our interest to take responsibility for Africa, for African nations. And I think it's something that Nigeria, in its own way, has been doing. As you said, it tends to be more successful in external actions than within internal. And I think we need to find a way to balance that a little bit more. The second thing you said was in respect of the Francophone and Anglophone countries. And I think you said something along the lines of, well, France made a better attempt to integrate the African populations or those it colonized. And I just wonder if that's quite right, because we see that France is amongst those countries that has great problems with those it did colonize previously, in particular in Northern Africa. And so we've seen the rise of extremism from the children and the grandchildren of those that were colonized. I'm talking of Algeria, for instance. So those were our 2 points of disagreement. But in terms of your list of the problems that we have to focus on, I totally agree with you. All those things I was doing, tech. Yes, absolutely. And so I do agree with you that we do need to sort our own house out better first before we start interfering and telling people how to live their own lives externally. That's true. But every country does that. Every country prefers, it's like every household. You'd rather talk about what your neighbor's doing wrong than what's wrong in your own household. It's easier.
I have not discussed with him, but I believe when he mentions the integration, the French is more for exploitation.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Oh,
you agree with that? It's more for exploitation.
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying that the descendants
Yes.
of those who were colonized don't appreciate it. They don't like that
Yes.
integration. They think it's about of it as being oppressive.
Even now, as we are talking here, they are exploiting their colonies
Yes.
more than anybody.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. I'm scared to give you the microphone.
Don't. I think when you say neighbor, I prefer to have a definition what is a neighbor to me. I don't want to go to Sierra Leone or Liberia, where I have been and I have seen what is there. I'm more comfortable being in Niger, Chad, Cameroon, Benin. I'm more comfortable there because that is my immediate backyard and it has direct relevance on me what happened there. In Sierra Leone and Liberia, it gives me time to prepare because I don't have infinite resources. I have limited resources, you know. So for those countries, I will have enough time to prepare. However, for my immediate neighborhood, I don't have time to prepare. So that is why my concern is, like for example, recently Nigeria finally completed a road from Calabar right into Cameroon. Fantastic first-class road. It took us 19 years with the support of African Development Bank. But the road now is complete and is being used. You know, and that road, the mileage it will bring us in goodwill is more than our own diplomat who is sitting in Douala. Then look at the coastal gas pipeline and the road that Nigeria is proposing from the coast down up to, I think, Sierra Leone. There'll be gas, there'll be highway. Those things will give us mileage more than all our diplomats combined because people see it, feel it, touch it. Then if you take what this government is doing to link up Nigeria to Maradi by rail, if you know the volume of trade between these two countries, you know, and how they rely on us, but finding our situation being untenable, now they go round us to go to the ports in other West African countries to bring in their goods and services, to the extent that we have very little influence on them because we are not trading. But if we take that railway, all their goods would go to Lagos, Calabar, or Port Harcourt, and then we'll move hinterland. No bandit, no herdsman, no separatist will stop the rail. And we'll have influence on them. Chad and Cameroon took their pipeline elsewhere, not through Nigeria. We lost on royalty. So if we had invested in these people rather than, I agree we can help Sierra Leone. We can help Liberia. But to what extent? We have to, as you said, there should be a balance. If we had managed these neighbors very well, most of the challenges we are having today, be it economic or security, it would have been moderated. We could be an influence. I don't know whether you've ever been to a ECOWAS meeting. You know? If you go to ECOWAS meeting, you realize that we are the cow just produce the milk. Go to ECOWAS Secretariat in Abuja, take the statistics of who is there. You know? Then coming to the French are extremely clever. The policy they have in Algeria is not what they have in Cote d'Ivoire. The policy they have in Niger is not what they have in Chad. Their policies over time has been customized. You know, the assimilado processing has been customized. Go to Sierra Leone, go to Senegal. They manage the airport. They manage all the utilities. Go to Chad, it's not like that. Go to Algeria, it's not like that. Go to Niger, it's not like that. You know, go to Mali, it's not like that. So they are very clever. They look at area where they can exploit more, you know, and try to work on that. They call it partnership. Look at the currency they are floating. When CFA couldn't fit into the ECO scheme of things, they brought out something different, you know, whereby all the Francophone countries deposit their money into the Central Bank of France. And they determine how that currency moves up or down. You know, so the French are different. The English, when they take, they eat, they clean their mouths, and look for the next place they can go to. They are not interested in what you do next. You know, if the English had chosen to do what the French are doing, I am telling you, there will be only 3 countries in the world. You know, in the democratic world: America, England, and France. But the English, probably due to their history or being an island, you know, they restricted themselves. The French are not an island. They know what neighborhood means. You know? So I think it's not a question of disagreement. I think probably it's a question of practical experience and perspective. Thank you very much.
I was right to be hesitant about giving you the microphone. So, are we ready?
Yes, we're ready.
All right, thank you.
Cornerhouse, one of Wharton's partner groups. It's really wonderful that this very timely session has been organised at such very, very short notice by Wharton to coincide with President Buhari's visit to London. I would have really liked to have been with you in person, or at the very least by Zoom, but unfortunately I've got a prior engagement, so you're going to have to make do, I'm afraid, with this rather shonky video, because I'd like to send my solidarity and also give a very brief reflection as an anti-corruption campaigner in the UK on the scorecard to date of the Buhari government. I have to say I'm very impressed. Buhari's anti-corruption drive has proved much more than just a campaign slogan that was dropped after the election. It's resulted in real, consistent action. I mean, to be sure, Nigeria still has major corruption problems, but the corrupt are under pressure. The sense that nothing could be done has been punctured. Impunity no longer rules the day. The corrupt are being held to account, and billions of naira of corrupt assets have been recovered, and more still could have been recovered with greater assistance from the West, and that's a job for all of us in the UK and elsewhere. Nigeria no longer has cause to hang its head in shame within the anti-corruption community. It's walking the walk, not just talking the talk. And it's winning international recognition for its fight against corruption, not least in the path-breaking programs that is put in place to ensure that recovered funds benefit the most needy. And I'm thinking here of the programs for distributing the released Abacha loot. As for Buhari, well, he has shown himself to be very resolute. His record in resisting pressure to drop charges against Shell and any of the 2 big oil companies and others in the OPL 245 case has been extremely impressive. It's a campaign that I've been involved with for nearly 7-8 years now, and it's very impressive the way he has stood his ground, despite pressure to abandon the prosecutions in Nigeria. He's insisted on the rule of law being upheld, and he's refused point blank to accede to NE's demands that their OPL 245 license be converted to an oil mining license before the cases before the court have been concluded. And that's really, really commendable. It's not something that often happens in Africa or indeed elsewhere, for political leaders to stand up to companies in this way. The EFCC has also served Nigeria very well under Buhari's tenure. Under the leadership of Ibrahim Magu, the agency scored numerous high-profile successes. And if there's a blot on Buhari's scorecard, I have to say it was his failure to stand by Magu when the allegations levelled against Magu proved baseless. Magu is still being hounded, and this is a major blemish on Nigeria's reputation, which Buhari could and should and must address. As a first step, the report of the investigation into Magu must be published. He can do that. And those who made false accusations must be brought to book. And again, this is something that Buhari can press for. I think that misguided loyalty to incompetent ministers has also damaged Buhari's fight against corruption. Again, this is something that can and should be corrected. Like many others in the international anti-corruption community, I've been totally mystified as to why the current Attorney General remains in office. He was asleep at the wheel over the PNID case, exposing Nigeria to massive potential legal bills, and his contradictory stance on OPL 245, one moment calling the notorious resolution agreements behind that deal sacrosanct, and the next telling an English court that they're corrupt. This contradictory approach has undermined Nigeria's case for damages, and that's really to be regretted, and I think his tenure in office needs to be reviewed, and I hope that Buhari will review it. I'm confident, however, that the corrupt will find Nigeria an increasingly hard place to do business. Magu's successor at the EFCC, Bawa, is proving a very sharp sword in the fight against corruption, and I take my hat off to him. Yes, there's still a long way to go, and yes, corruption is fighting back, as it always does. But Buhari has set a new course for Nigeria. It will be hard to reverse the gains that have been made. So I hope that this meeting goes well. I send you my solidarity. You have my support. There's a long and difficult road to travel, but together I'm absolutely sure we will win. Thank you very much.
Okay. That was a forthright message from Nick there. I think it was a welcome message, wasn't it? Yes? Okay, good. All right. Okay, so we're going to our next speaker, who is, and I'm hoping, the Honourable Aminu is now available. No? No?
Yeah, hello.
Hello?
Hello?
Okay, yeah. Honorable Ade Aminu.
Hello? Yes.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello, Honorable. Yeah, Honorable Aminu, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. Welcome back. Yeah, welcome back. Now, you have the floor now, and you've got 10 minutes, sir. Starting from now.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to join the honorable panel and members over there as well. Well, my contribution is going to be on corruption in Nigeria. And I know that a lot of speakers, because I was online, listening to most of the speakers so far.
Honorable Aminu, just a minute.
Yes?
Okay. We can't, we can see the camera, but we can't see you.
You can't see me?
No.
We're seeing either a bed sheet or your t-shirt.
We can't see your face.
Can you see me now?
No, not yet.
No, I think probably the camera.
Yes.
Okay, now.
All right, I just left the living room because telly and other things
Okay.
around me.
Thank you very much, sir. Go ahead.
So my contribution is on corruption in Nigeria and what can be done to eradicate or to reduce, because I don't think we can eradicate corruption entirely. But what we can do is to try to reduce the level of corruption in Nigeria. From my experience, you know, everybody blame government, they blame the president for whatever happened. But we as individuals, as citizens, need to look at ourselves in terms of the role we play in encouraging corruption to manifest. Recently, I'm not sure that the information is correct about the Nigerian Olympics. The Puma sponsored them for about 2.something million. At the end of the day, the athletes did not receive any of those funds. So are we going to blame Buhari for that, or the minister, or the civil servant in charge of managing that fund on behalf of Nigerian athletes? So for me, we cannot always blame the leader for everything. We have to look at ourselves, the role we play to make sure that, we reduce the corruption. So for me, we need to start asking, why is it that everybody is just for themselves rather than the entire masses or the population? As a politician here, we are there to serve people, not people to serve us. But in Nigeria, people spend their time and money to vote for them. At the end of the day, they are the ones still serving them. So we need to change that when people elect you, they elect you to represent them, they elect you to meet their needs. And I've said on various interviews, even when I was in Nigeria recently, because I just came back this morning, and that is why I'm a bit still tired, is that everybody needs to be accountable to their actions. We don't play money politics here, we serve. And when you're asking someone to come and bring maybe, I don't know, few millions or thousands of naira to come and apply for a position either as a Senate or House of Rep or governor or councillor, you name it, then what do you expect when they get there? Of course, they would like to recoup that money back. And how are they going to get it? It's going to be the common cost of every one of us through the taxes and the revenue generated by the country. And the starting point is to change that mindset that if anybody wants to serve in any elective offices, then they don't need to go and mortgage their property, their life, to get the application form to be able to stand if they believe they want to represent people. Other thing I want us to look at is that when the government in their own part fail to deliver, because when you owe people salary, how do you expect them to survive, to live on, to maintain their family? And that is where the corruption starts, because these people, they have to travel to work on daily basis, they have family, they have the school fees and everything to pay. And if the government is owing them, and I'm sure recently, I mean, as I've said, I just came back this morning, I understand in some states, the medical doctors are on strike now. And they are saying, oh, during the pandemic, why are they going on strike? What do you expect them to do when you fail to fulfill your own bargain, part of the bargain, for the doctors, for the teachers, for the civil servants? So if the government doesn't get their acts together, I don't think corruption in Nigeria can go away. So everybody needs to make sure that to do that, we have to pay our civil servants on time, we have to pay them well, even the police officers as well. We have the cases of the Commissioner for Police now under investigation. So are we saying they are not well trained or paid well enough? Why are they engaging in that kind of corruption? And these are the people that we rely on to protect, to obey the rules of law on our behalf. So as I've said, is just to make sure that when we are electing people into offices, we get the right people there, not the people that doesn't know what they are doing. I understand the minister or the NOC for Nigerian Olympic Committee chairperson is an engineer. What does he know about sports? Why can't we get people like Sheikh Odebami, people who have done well, these ex-footballers and so on, people who have done a lot of sports or representing the country in the past. So these are the people that will have experience in managing the Olympic for us, not people that know nothing or they've never been in the area of sports in their own life. So what we do in Nigeria is to always get people that are not qualified, that doesn't have the experience to manage our affairs. And that is why we get to where we are now. And the same thing goes into corruption as well. Because when the learned person, doctors, teachers, they fail to join politics because they say it's for, riffraff. At the end of the day, I can't be bothered to get involved. So at the end of the day, we get the people that doesn't have a clue of what they are doing. And when they get there, what do they do? The best they can do is just to share money. And then when they start sharing the money, we start complaining that, okay, there's corruption here and there. So we as a citizen, both the politician, elected officials, civil servants, and individuals, all of us need to look into ourselves. How do we contribute to the corruption in Nigeria? Is it the way we behave? And so on and so forth. So, my apologies, my voice is still weak. And that is my little contribution. I know they've given me a few minutes anyway to say a few things on this. So, but I'm open to any questions. If there's any question at the end of the session, I'm able to expand on some of the things I've talked about. The most important thing is that we are all part of this corruption system in Nigeria. Individually, we have to think of how do we address it, and by changing our acts as well. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for your talk, which was very interesting. And I saw some correlation between what you said and what some of our previous speakers have said. So, for instance, you talked about what can be done to eradicate corruption. You said we should all be responsible for our actions, and you ended up with we should all ask ourselves what we can do and how we're responsible as well. And that kind of tied in with Mr. Suraju, when he said we should all be responsible for good governance, all of us. So we all have a responsible role for it. And then it ties in also with Professor Imafidon, because you talked about people not being paid on time, so people not being valued. And Professor Imafidon was telling us that people are our greatest resource and we should treasure them and we should assist their development in any way that we can that's constructive for them. And so those are the things. But there was something you said which I don't know that I agree with in terms of the real world. You said, and I forget the name of the person, so forgive me, but what does so-and-so know about sports? And you suggested some former footballers should be in charge instead. Well, we live in the UK here, and our two health ministers, the previous one and the current one, I'm still asking myself what they know about health. I can't see any specialization. I know one is an expert in the financial services, and the current one, and the previous one, I forget what he's an expert in, but certainly not health. So I don't think that's how governments make decisions, but perhaps that's how we would like them to make their decisions, because that might be to our potential benefit in terms of COVID. And when you said that, I have to say to this room something you don't know. And that is that March, April, May, June, July, August, this is the first time in 1 year, 5 months, that I'm in a room with more than one person. So, and this is the first time I've taken the train anywhere, and it's because Benga asked me, right? And I just, we did our PhDs at the same place. We know each other a million years ago at the University of Kent. So I couldn't refuse. So it's a delight to see you all, and I'm really super excited to be around human beings again. I keep taking off my mask and putting it on and taking it off. And I should keep it on, I know. So thank you all, and thank you to our speakers. Yeah, absolutely.
About getting the right people for the right job. In a safe environment where we are in UK, where there's accountability, rule of law, that when a minister or cabinet member does something wrong, they are sanctioned. But in Nigeria, that's not the case. So we cannot say because they appoint people who haven't got the background in education or in health to lead. It's a different ball game in Africa and especially in Nigeria. I mean, as I've said, most of the time when they appoint people, we want that person to lead, to manage people in that area. But if they don't know anything about the area they want to manage, how are they going to succeed? And because there's no accountability, they don't have the experience. I think it's the wrong way. It's like you are putting a round something in a square peg, whatever. So for me, that doesn't work in African environment. And that is the point I'm trying to make there, that if you want to appoint someone that you want them to add value, then you need to get the right people who have at least some idea of what they want to do, how they can manage people, how they can lead the organization. But the problem we have in there is that the people there, they don't even know anything. And that is why we have the problem we have with the current Olympic team and other industry organizations where the minister doesn't have a clue about the appointment given to them or how to manage that department.
Thank you. I do think you have a rather idealized vision of what's going on in the UK at the moment. And perhaps that's a discussion we can have at a different point in time. I'm happy to send you sources. But I do also understand what you say, because my research is all on Africa and Africa and international law and peace and security. And I know that it's a particular problem in terms of governance there and in terms of people. It's a slightly different level because we have slightly different issues in Africa. So I do agree with you. But I'm not going to take all your time. I'm being very greedy. I'm going to allow some people from the floor perhaps to ask you questions, if there are any questions for yourself or for any of the previous speakers. This would be a good time to ask. Now everyone's very silent, so we've either stunned them with our brilliance or we've bored them to death. I'm not sure which way it's going. Is there one? The lady in pink or the lady in brown? The lady in brown. Oh, the same lady.
Thank you. So it's Augustine.
Oh, fine. Sure. Okay. So this question is to you. Is it unusual?
Hi, thank you. So I'm Augustina, alumni of University of Kent. So just going back to unqualified people, because I was quite confused about how we can solve it, right? Because except from people lacking interest and thinking that politics is not what they're interested in, how can you find qualified people to do those jobs so that other people can benefit from it? And then I had another question from the previous speaker, and that was if our foundation, that was for Professor. So if our foundation post-colonialism are not made to serve our interests, do we need to knock the foundations and move forward that way, or how can we do so effectively?
Okay. Should I answer the first question?
No, I think that is for Olanrewaju Suraju.
Okay, all right.
So you have the floor now.
Can someone help me to hear it better? I was hearing about foundation, but I don't understand what foundation is it that was mentioned.
No, she had two questions there. The first one was for you, and the second question was for Professor Imafidan.
Okay, what is the first question again, please?
Okay,
How to identify?
Yeah, basically, how do you get qualified people that don't use the excuse of I don't care about politics?
How do you identify better candidates for political office for the future?
Thank you very much. I think the first thing to do in identifying people for office is for us to first set the minimum standard that we want people in office to meet.
Looks like we've lost you there, Uncle Suraju. So I think we'll just move swiftly to the second question. Professor Imafidan, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go on. Yes.
We must set our minimum criteria for any occupant of our political office, and for that matter, should be the minimum resonating factor for any consideration we're making for the office. So before we get to the office holder, we need to understand with the office, and this is where I want to just partially line with the last speaker, Honorable Aminu, in terms of ensuring that you have people with the experience, the expertise, the knowledge to the occupants of offices than just bringing anybody from anywhere for political expediency. So the minimum basic standard is that, and that is where you have it difficult for people here. I mean, without being a doctor or a lawyer, you can't be the Minister of Health or the Minister of Justice in Nigeria. The fact that would also actually negate that to a large extent is to ask, so what has been the performances of those elected or appointed from that profession into the offices? What are the significant achievements? And the answer would be not a really issue for it, but it would have been worse if people who don't even experience standing or so. For me, the first thing is for us to set the minimum criteria for any occupant of the office. So at that point, it allows us to start sifting from the lots that will be available. The second one is that, like Honorable Aminu said, involvement in politics is not only about casting our votes or joining political parties. The first one is to be a major stakeholder in the process and the of even their primaries, as simple as primaries of the political parties. Because at the end of the day, if you don't get involved, you are torn between the devil and the deep blue sea.
Thank you so very much, sir. Looks like we've lost him again. I think we'll have to proceed straight to Professor Imafidan now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. In 1972, how many states were there in Nigeria? Okay. and then we went and formed 36 states.
We've moved on to the next speaker, please. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Always my pleasure.
Okay. So we can fundament now. Every local government wants to become a state because everybody wants to be a governor. So if we can make such fundamental change in our political system, we can do anything if we have the political will. In 1972, you had to spend 6 years in primary school, 5 years in secondary school, and then you did HSC, and then you went to university or went to School of Basic Studies. Today we have 6-3-3. We didn't need any colonial power. So if we have the will, we can also change the entire curriculum that we deliver that is so antiquated. Do you know when the current curriculum we are delivering in Nigeria, do you know when it was thought of? 1440. It was pre-colonial. So we must go to, you see this building is as tall as the foundation that was laid. So if we want to lay foundation, cancel education, and talk about human capital development. Because his son, you see, his son, if he plays netball very well, he'll be right now on page 12 of this magazine I gave you. We beat the United States of America in NBA. I couldn't sleep. It's never been done before on American soil for another country to come and defeat all-star. All the people that play for the USA basketball team, ladies and gentlemen, were playing in the NBA. They're all-star. The people that played and represented Nigeria were those that were rejected. How did the Nigerian team defeat an American all-star team on American soil, Las Vegas? It's never been done before, since 1776. Why? Because those gentlemen that went there, they went there for one reason. Not for him to show up that he can play more than me, or me to show up he can play more than me. They did so much teamwork. Do you know how many times I've watched the video? I must confess. The YouTube video, do you know how many times I've gone to watch it? Because it's a modern day sporting miracle for a team that is unrated. We are not number 1 in the world, not number 2 in the world, not number 3 in the world. When we played in the Olympics in London, we were whipped. How can we then defeat the American team? I know why. Because these youths don't speak the language that I speak or the language that my parents speak. They speak a different language. And it's that language and that commitment to the Nigerian cause that will also make us economically defeat any country in the world. I'll Google it and go and find out from Biden. How many Nigerians are in Biden's government? How many Nigerians are in the cabinet making decisions for money? The Undersecretary of State, if I give you his name, you know he's your cousin. Right now, for the United States. NASA, that is putting men on the Mars. Do you know who worked out the calculation? If I give you his name, you will not believe it. He's related to you. So in engineering, in medicine, CDC, the vaccine that Pfizer released, do you know who did the clinical trials? Who can guess? He finished from the University of Calabar. That's the clue I can give you. A Nigerian, this is the vaccine that is turning the economy around. There is so much in that country that if we can just forget for 1 minute, I mean, like you were saying, we are surrounded by the French. Do you know what I would do, sir? I will make French compulsory in the first 3 years of primary school, so that our interaction with the Cameroonians, with the Nigerians, will be different. And our understanding and interaction will be different. And our export of our talent from Nigeria will be to Quebec. We go to Paris. We'll go anywhere. We draw the doctors from the National Health Service in the UK. We draw Nigerian doctors and see what happens. It collapses. I'm not saying this. Jeremy Hunt said it when he was Secretary of State for Health. The number of Nigerian doctors and nurses in the national health here, if you remove them for 1 week, the entire thing will collapse. So why is it that the prophet is not without honor except in his own home and amongst his own people? The same doctors. How can Calabar University produce one of the best in the world? And you are trying to tell me that that is a third world nation. No, there's something wrong with your brain. They have a first world brain. They might be in a third world geography. Nigeria is a first world brain. Who wrote the code for the internet? Do you know who I got it from? Bill Clinton said it was in Nigeria. He mentioned his name, mispronounced his name. So that's why I'm saying to you, we will change it because we have no choice. The world cannot exist the way it is now without Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. So we come to our keynote speaker. There's no one else. It's time for you. Okay, so our last speaker today is one of the organizers, Dr. Benga Oduton, and his talk is entitled Nigeria within the Commonwealth of Nations at Crossroads, Achievements, Prospects and Challenges of Transparency, Infrastructure and Security for Development, which is the exact title of today's seminar. So we're waiting for you, Benga. And you too have 10 minutes. Thank you. I'm to keep you entertained. You don't pay me enough. Don't pay me anything. Okay, all right. Jokes, no. What do we think today? I feel like a teacher, so that's just wrong, sorry. I'm just trying to find out what you've most enjoyed today, apart from, of course, meeting new people and being around Nigerians, which is always lovely. I'm going to ask you, because I've been looking at your dress all day, and it's so beautiful. So what have you particularly enjoyed? Could you tell us your name?
Hello everyone, Jamila Zanna Mohammed. It's nice to meet you all. Basically, what I've really enjoyed today, I would say Nigeria is not for the leaders. Nigeria is for all Nigerians. As such, every Nigerian should work hard, progressive, developmental, security-wise, social, cultural, every sector. Everyone has a goal inside. Stop blaming the government and wake up, work together for better Nigeria. Nigeria are blessed. If only we knew how dark black. When I say dark black, black is a very distinctive color. It's black. You can't change black. You can't change Nigerians for our gift. We are gifted, and in other words, we know how so if only we know how, sorry to say,
Your writing as bad as mine.
well, anyway, I think the key role here, the government or the people, is every enacted law should be implemented amicably. In so doing, the effort of the government might be more appreciated. God bless Nigeria, God bless Nigerians, and God bless our leaders.
Thank you so much. I always have something to disagree with everybody. I'm just an awkward person, I suppose. But I do think we all have a responsibility. I don't think we need to let the government go. I think we need to help the government do better. I think it's our job not to be afraid to speak truth to power. And I think we can do that constructively. I write on African leaders and African states because I want things to get better for my people. And I take the position that all Africans are my people. I'm from Nigeria, but you talked about the partition, which we didn't have a say in. And so I don't know if someone now in, I don't know, South Africa was originally a member of my family who got moved and moved and moved. So I treat all Africans as my people, and I want the whole continent to rise up. And Nigeria has been holding a prominent position in African politics, in African militaries, etc. I just would like it to maintain that prestige and to do better. I think we do have problems with the government, but I don't think that we need to, I don't know, beat the government down, because we don't know what exactly is going on. We can help each government do better. And one problem that I've found in speaking to some Nigerians, yourselves excluded, is that we tend to break out in ethnic lines or religious lines or some other silly line, instead of all pulling together and trying to get the country better. Now, I was going to refer to the 70s and 80s. They weren't ideal times, of course. There were problems, but it seemed to me, now I've told you my age roughly, that things were, didn't mean to do that. Things were a little better, a little more cohesive amongst the Nigerians themselves. Okay, we had come out of a civil war, so maybe I'm talking utter rubbish at this moment in time, but there seemed to be some kind of idea that we were all going to pull in the same direction from then on. And it seems to me from everything I'm reading, I haven't been to Nigeria for a few years, so I'm always very hesitant to talk about things I haven't seen in person. But I do read a lot and I do listen to people. And it seems to me that people are talking about breaking up the country. Oh, come on, yeah? What, little micro-states, how are you all going to survive? So get over that, and let's all pull together and make Nigeria this really big, strong power. Benga, are you ready? Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much, Eki. And again, appreciations for everyone who is here, including those who are at home. When we as a coalition of intellectuals, academics, activists sort of imagined this occasion, we thought it was necessary because of the direction of things. A lot of the commentary on Nigeria recently has been, in a sense, grassroots led, but on the other hand, very unruly, indisciplined, negative. You know, you tend to have those who are expressing their frustration in the most, if you may permit me, crude ways in charge of the airwaves. So what we envisaged was the need to have a civil discussion about our country, one which we have no other, one which we are proud of, extremely proud of, one which we should not be beaten back by those who think that we should be perhaps ashamed of the country. I don't even know how anyone begins to become ashamed of his own, you know, parentage, you know, genealogy, country of origin. I don't understand how anybody gets there. But we have to offer a counter narrative. And that counter narrative is not one which people want to stampede us into, that you are lackeys of power, you don't know how to speak truth to power. That's not the issue. The first thing we had in mind as a coalition is that we need to offer a reasoned, rational discussion over the direction of the country. And the way to do that is to look at the positives and the negatives. If you go through what goes on, those of us who might be in one way or the other addicted to WhatsApp, sometimes you have entire groups that send only negative news about Nigeria, as though there's nothing positive going on. Is that even possible? Can you conceptualize any situation where human beings where everything is negative? I can't. There's a lot of positives going on, and the annoying thing is that people get to a state where they actually are irritated when you send positive news. They are. They would strike out at you. You would think you are the bad man here. So, yes, today is a day where there are a lot of critique has been going on here, but at the same time, we are pointing out the positives. And what I'll be doing over the next few minutes, which I think I will have, I won't expect any favorable treatment, or more favorable than others from the moderator, is to talk about a few of the positives, the prospects, the achievements, the challenges of the recent administrations, definitely the current administration, because each administration stands on the shoulders of the last. And of course, we will also be talking about, it's not showing, so you have to, yeah, exactly. We have to talk a bit about the things that need to be critiqued as well. A good place to start in terms of achievement is the wonderful nature of progress in agriculture. Agriculture is, I mean, green is the color of our flag for a reason. Green for the agriculture, if I remember well, white for the peace, and green again to emphasize the agriculture and the fauna and the flora of Nigeria. We got to a stage where we were importing most of our food. Certainly we were importing staples like rice when we could. Nobody talks about the magic of suddenly becoming the leading rice producer in Africa. Does anybody remember that? The Anchor Borrowers Program, the local production of rice, which has doubled, 10 new rice mills coming on stream. Again, it's not like one is trying to, say you know better than others, but it's a bit of normal for human beings to focus on the negative. That's why news, when they say no news is good news, because news tends to be negative news. It's the same thing that happens in international relations and international law, which Eke and I have devoted our lives to, for good or for bad. A lot of people say international law is not law. International law is useless because they are focusing on the negatives. When America bombed Iraq, of course it's wrong. When a country refused to give effect to a judgment of the ICJ, then everybody says international law does not work. When your phone is ringing, international law is working. Nobody remembers that. Because your phone cannot ring if the rules of Inmarsat, of the Intelsat, those organizations that give spectrums to countries and companies, have not done their job. There would be confusion in the airwaves if international law had not worked silently. International law works when you have the right to fly across nations, fly from Nigeria and land here without having to be shut down over the countries that you have flown over. That's international law working. So again, national law is working when these new rice mills, when these new developments in agriculture are going on. Yeah, please, next one. What we have is that people just talk about the negative. Yes, I have a few critiques of even what we have achieved in agriculture. Again, I think the government, rice is wonderful. I mean, we can't say anything is wrong with that. But one of the things that people who are criticizing, especially the closure of the ports, which was necessary to make the market get used to the rice that we now produce, is that it affects the southerners, particularly those who have committed their money into importation of rice. That we have to give some respect to that. Perhaps in the future, when government is doing something like that, and this is something we encourage in international commercial law, which is one of the areas I specialize in, is that give people a bit of a head, what do we call it, warning that there will be turbulence coming, so that they have time to adjust. Give them some time to adjust, to withdraw their investment from buying rice abroad or whatever it is. That's one way of avoiding trouble and criticism. Another way of avoiding trouble and criticism, apart from communications, is give them their own crops that their own geography can also. It might be beans this time. It might be maize that needs encouragement, things like that. So, yes, next one, please. Infrastructure. The government should be known as the infrastructure kings of Nigeria, indeed of Africa. The infrastructural progress that has been made under this regime is one of the untold stories of mankind. And I say that with all sense of honesty, because I had I was called to Nigeria to give a talk at Abuja, landed at Abuja. A car was waiting for me outside, but they said there's also a train that can take me to Abuja from the airport to the Abuja city. I doubt if that happens in any developing country. But it's happening in Nigeria right now. To land in an airport and take a train from the airport into the city. There's an exception there, but we have time for questions. Well, we can have quarrels over what is a developing country, but certainly not in the West African region, not in the East African region that I know of. Train development, rail development, places where we don't have much, so I need to keep moving. These one more back. Let's see if there's a criticism. Yeah, there's some criticism there. Infrastructure is good. We have new roads, we have rail lines, you can travel. I mean, if you see pictures of the Ido to Ibadan, you think you're in Europe. If you see pictures, and that might be a state achievement, if you see pictures of the Oshodi was, I remember in the 90s, I took a German in my car, driving him to the airport, and we were on top of the Oshodi Bridge, those of you who know, and he saw the view from on top of the bridge, and he said a word I will never forget, "Lauter," which means in German, people. Just heads, maybe even hundreds of thousands of heads. It was a chaotic place. You go to Oshodi now, you find an internationally, palatable infrastructure there, bus stations and all that. My little criticism of infrastructure, of which we are going to talk about more in the few minutes I have, is that there is no serious indication to indicate that some of the loans that were taken to, and that's on infrastructural loans generally, some of the loans that the government has now taken ownership of and given it to sort of buying up the debts, restructuring debts from commercial banks into bonds. We need to find out why some of those loans were taken in the first place, whether they are what we call odious loans. So a bit more transparency may be needed generally in relation to infrastructure. It is not a secret to anyone that the cost of per kilometer cost of producing 1 kilometer of road in Nigeria doesn't tally with what happens internationally. Same thing with rail. That's not new. That has always been there. I think one of the worst projects of all time is the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. It's just how many kilometers? The rail line that has been done now is 157 kilometers. So the road would be shorter than that. We have been building as a country that road since 2003. The Chinese will finish it in a week if you give them the task. But we somehow have been building that. More progress has been made now in the last few years, but I think it's a wound on the conscience of mankind. Mankind should not allow that to happen, that a road will be built that slowly across several regimes, from the Obasanjo regime to present times. So that's new infrastructure, very good, coming from the new culture, I would submit, of perhaps the head honcho not asking for kickbacks, not encouraging anybody to come back to him, and therefore the person who is under him has to deliver, and projects are being finished on time. That's a fact, whether people like that or not. No matter what they are called, they just have to recognize that the rate at which we are finishing infrastructure in the last few years is on African, not just on Nigerian. We are finishing these infrastructures very quickly. That's because there's some more transparency, but even more transparency will be good, because if the budget still needs more transparency. We now have budgets coming out on time. I think I have it in my PowerPoint there. Restoration of federal budget, January to December cycle, for the first time in 12 years. How does anybody get paid his salary and then get a pension when he has not done things that are to be done the way they ought to be done? How do you get to call yourself an accountant for the accountant general and you can't, or whichever ministry of finance, you can't get the budget done in time for January? What are you doing? It's like me, students arriving and not finding their exams in June, or sorry, in May, because we've not set the questions. It's just unheard of. So there's some progress there. We have budgets on time. However, there is still a lot of accusations, and I insist, accusations. We have no proof here that there's a lot of political maneuvering still going on, that budget padding may still be going on. And I think the way to combat this is to allow more transparency, even more light. NGOs particularly, civil society groups, critics should be allowed to see the budgetary process more and to question it and to do more of the watchdog role. So let's skip. Oh, sorry, executive orders. Yes, I remember this is one of the things that I think is a bit of all my slides are important. That's what my teachers, students say. The beautiful executive orders that have been churned out by this government is impressive, and I'll talk about one that I find particularly impressive. But the critique to that, again, is that lawmaking should not be done entirely by executive orders. Executive orders rob the parliament of the opportunity to consider the policy, debate it in the open. It takes a long time, but when the law comes out, it's more representative of society. Having said that, who can disagree with Executive Order 008, Voluntary Offshore Asset Regularization Scheme? What the government is doing there is that it knows that there's a lot of money being stowed away, stowed abroad in the billions of dollars that have been invested into property in Dubai and in London. We just HEDA, for which Larry Suraju heads, and the Kent Law School and a few other. We did a study, 3-year study, which we submitted to the EFCC recently, and the figures that are coming out from our research are just mind-boggling. How much money Nigeria loses, particularly to London and the UAE. So what the Voluntary Offshore Asset Regularization Scheme is doing is giving those who are in government, who had a duty to declare their assets, and they have not done it, give them a period of amnesty. Do it. Come, show us what you have, pay tax, and then maybe we see how it goes. But it's done in the US. So that after that, it becomes strict liability. You are found to have a flat. Not the Nigerians don't buy flats. They buy entire rows of flats, of houses in Dubai, in the best Palm Jumeirah, best parts of Dubai, and in London here. Many of the properties that are locked up, not used by, are bought by Ukrainians, Russian oligarchs, and Nigerian civil servants as well. Executive orders like this are targeted at a specific problem, which shows some thinking, which shows some unnatural, un-Nigerian focus on transparency. And I think that's a very good thing indeed. Yeah, we have over 26, just keep ticking them. We have over 26 slides. We will share. One of the things we hope to do at the end of this conference is to, and that's why we have everything recorded, is to produce a volume which we will share with the Nigerian government based on some of our interactions here. Not just a volume, we also want to come out with a communique. We don't have time because of the nature of COVID restrictions, all kinds of time factor. We would have had a situation where you get the communique today, you get everything today, but we will have this sent to you, including my PowerPoint and any other, and of course the Zoom recording will also be shared with you. Infrastructure Kings, no doubt. keep going. Let's see what's happening. The critique is that costs are still astronomical. Government perhaps is not blowing its horn enough. Government is not doing enough of that. The government is not communicating even its successes. That needs to change. We used to have a very interesting person in the UK known as the spin doctor. What's his name again? Mandelson. No, not Mandelson. Alistair Campbell. If I had my way, Alistair Campbell would be flown to Abuja, given a specific room, pay the salary, and you will be shocked how much work he will churn out. I don't know him, never met him, I'm not talking for him, but we need a spin doctor in Nigeria. Not even a spin, we need a proper communication strategy. How many people know how many rail lines, hundreds of rail lines that have been completed in such a short time? How many people know if I had time, I would have shown you the slides I have there on the power projects that have been done in the states as well. It's not just about the federal government. In the states as well. Who knows that Ekiti State has laws on gender equality that even this country will be jealous of? So we cover our successes by ineffective strategies of communication, and then we allow the Igbohos, the Kanus, to rule the airwaves. And it nearly got to a stage, maybe we're even at that stage, where we can't talk again. Because if you say anything, then you are not a good Igbo man, or you are not a good Yoruba man, or you are not a good Kanuri man, or whatever the case may be. We must reclaim that space. Nigeria first, Africa next, the developing world next, and of course the whole world. Thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thank you, Benga. That was a great talk as always, but also very illuminating. Lots of nice figures that I always like to see. So I understand what's going on, and I can actually see the proof of what you're saying. Two things, of course, because it's me. No, we don't want Alistair Campbell in Nigeria. No, we do not. No, we do not. We do not want him. Personally, I don't know him. I think he's possibly a nice person. He had a job to do, and he did it. But it's alleged that he was one of the main reasons that the world acted on the weapons of mass destruction re-Iraq. So no, we don't want to go down that. We want less armed conflict in Africa, not more. So no, but we may need, I'm not disagreeing that we need spin doctors, but I don't want spin doctors to cover, I'm more human rightsy than you, you're all economics and commerce. I moved away from that because I want to save people. So we need truth. You talked about more transparency, more light, and I think that is true. The other thing I want to say is, and I don't know, I don't want to be distracted by ethnic lines and religious lines. If people have a valid point that they are being oppressed, it is our job to support them and not to continue to minimize what they might be going through. Now, someone said earlier that perhaps it's perceived oppression rather than real oppression, and I think perhaps it was my friend, professor here. I don't remember exactly who said it, and it may be that, but we do need to bring everybody to the table and sort it out, because we are all Nigerians and it's to our benefit. And we cannot go forward into whatever century we're moving into without respecting human rights of each and every one of us. So those are my 2 points. Reclaim the stage. Yes, of course the government must blow its own trumpet what it's doing well. Every government must. And if Nigeria is doing certain things very well, fantastic. I want to hear more about it. I will retweet it, right? Just tag me in it and I will keep retweeting. I will of course investigate it first, because that's what I do, right? Eki Emisi, at Eki Emisi. You find me on Twitter, I'm always there. And I will retweet it. I'm always open to positive things. And I love Nigeria, as I think we all do. Yes, I'm not giving you the microphone. I'm sorry, I just can't do it. We're gonna be here till 10. Sorry. I'm going to invite you to one of my conferences. Yeah, I'll give you the microphone in a moment. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't like to get involved in these things. I hear things, and like Benga says, there are some WhatsApp groups, and I'm involved in some, and it is just this deluge of awful pictures or information, and yes, it would be nice to counteract that with more positive things. Nigeria is a great country. Thank you. I just said the truth, right? And we just need to work together better. Now, I'm just going to say one small thing on international law, because I keep hearing about different groups. My mother's Yoruba, so, you know, I'm telling you, I keep hearing Yoruba. Some of the Yoruba groups want to break up. I hear some of the Igbo groups want to break up, and I don't know what's going on there. You can't have these microstates in the international system. They won't survive. They will not be recognized by the international community. They won't. We work better as a whole, right, rather than in tiny little chunks. We go into tiny little chunks, we will be eaten up in days. And someone else is going to come in and say, they're fighting, I'm going in to help them. Yeah, I'm going to resolve it. They've asked me to, perhaps, right? Humanitarian intervention, and we're going to end up like Libya. So we don't want that. Everyone stick together. Don't go down the ethnic route, or the religious route. If someone sends you something on on WhatsApp, which they do to me, and it's got no name at the bottom, don't send it on. Someone's made it up. If someone's proud of what they've written, they will put their name to it. They will, right? If it's got no name in, and then people start repeating the same thing, and it's just so frightening for everybody. Please, that's the one thing I want you to take away from me today. Please don't send those things on, because we've got people trying to instigate violence, trying to get us to break up, trying to take our oil, trying to take our people, right? And we can't have that again. We've been through too much together. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Yes. Yes. We're going to have questions. Yes.
Okay. Before we have that, I just want to make a little short announcement. After the whole interactive session and everything, we will be having photographs taken in here and outside the courtroom. Then after that, we have a little bit of small chops. We're not allowed to eat in here, so that's why we couldn't bring them in. But we have some small chops that will be distributed to us whilst we're outside taking our photographs. Yeah. So I just want to have that. So let's go for the interactive session now.
Well, I think it's something very, very important, but I think all the speakers have ignored it. 2023 is coming. And it is when we'll have a change of baton at both state and federal level. And I think we have to focus our attention on the cost of election in Nigeria. If we don't, the same riprap that have held Nigeria at the jugular will continue to do it forever and ever. The cost of election in Nigeria is unmanageable. It's excessive. If you want to be a councillor, the minimum investment is anything between 15 and 20 million naira to be a councillor. Then the question you ask is, yes, I'll do that. But what next? To be a chairman of a local government, the minimum you are talking of is anything between 50 to 100 million naira, depending whether you are in Port Harcourt, Lagos, Kano, Kaduna. If you want to be a governor, depending again where, the minimum is from 5 billion, the starting point. I'm telling you from first-hand knowledge, because I participated in 2019 to help some friends who want to aspire for public office. If you want to be a president, the form alone from any of the parties you are talking of anything between 40 to 100 million. So who do you think can afford that money to aspire for a democratic leadership in our country? We have to think through it. Each and every political party has a fee. NACON has a fee. INEC has a fee. Even the police that will escort you, they have a fee. The thugs will have a fee. You have to produce posters. You have to mobilize vehicles. You have to buy tramadol and wee-wee. I'm telling you, it's part of the infrastructure. You have to do that. You have to feed people. No? All this at the end of the day, what will it translate to? Massive, unmitigated corruption. You have to recoup your money. It's as simple as that. You are not a Father Christmas. If you meant good, go to your village and invest that money. You'll change lives. Give scholarships. Go to the hospital and help those who cannot pay their bills. Go to the orphanage and help, if that are your motives. You know, so I think as a group, as a pressure group, I'm back there, I'm doing my bit, but from here, send the message. It's an unwholesome practice. The world is laughing at us. The cost is too tremendous, too high, and it will not give us the leaders we want, but it will give us the hush puppies and those that they support. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we have some questions online.
Yes.
It would be terribly uncharitable of us not to look at that. One of the more interesting ones says, are we getting delivery of small chops too?
Okay, I'm going to read that, but I just wanted Benga to clarify something. You talked about Executive Order 008, and you said that there would be a period in which people could declare and just pay tax, and that would be okay. What I'd like to know, fitting in with the professor's statement, is whether the source of that wealth is examined first.
So it will be examined.
Okay.
It's not something that absolves you of all sins.
I see.
What it does is to give you the opportunity to regularize and say, I have the property. Now that we have the knowledge, what we do with that is another thing.
Okay.
Plus, if there's any taxes to be paid, that gives you also the opportunity to pay it. But the interesting thing is that, to the best of my knowledge, that opportunity has not been taken by the class that it was directed at. But that's good news, because now we have strict liability taking over. You did it, you had an opportunity, your attention collectively was called to the issue, and you didn't do anything. Now it's time for punishment. It doesn't even have to be this government. It could be the next government. It could be the government after that would make use of this law that was made.
Thank you, that's great. Okay, question for you, actually, Winger, the person corrected themselves. So given the current service climate in Nigeria, do you think knowledgeable, honest, and experienced patriots can deliver on their duties in Nigeria? If no, how do you think we can transform the service climate to accommodate patriots who can deliver and are truly ready to serve? And the question is from Enobong Efa Akpan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Akpan. I'm struggling. Could you be talking about the civil service, or is he talking about service generally, political service? I will address both then. The first thing I think that needs to happen is that we all should be a bit more courageous. This idea that we leave political office only for the laggards and only the brashest and all that is a collective mistake. We all finish, especially those of us who are here in the diaspora, we run away from our sacred duty. Any person who has got higher education qualification is an elite. And the idea that the elites of a society run away, either abroad or stay in the country and just look for safe jobs without going to take leadership is an abject dereliction of duty. So the first thing I think we have to do is to encourage more people into governance. One quick fix for that, low-hanging fruit, allow more women into politics, I think. Allow more women into politics. There are only two genders in the world. It's very much like I'm a bit of a funny person with
I would need to also make a comment, before, especially on that part that you are.
Okay. Go on, please. Go on.
Yeah, I feel we should be very careful in some of the things that we make. So we're talking about women in politics. We need to qualify it. And that should be women who are genuinely committed to the issues that we're talking about or to governance. We have had women who are in politics where, and we look at the report, almost 90% of those women who are in office, who have used the campaign opportunity of women in politics or have been children of politicians, wives of politicians, daughters of politicians, and even sometimes concubines of political fathers. And you have some of them in the national service. And what you get is simply an abuse of that. And that was why we really had the reduction in inclusion. From 1999, if you check, we have almost the worst number currently now. And this is because all those who are taking advantage of that opportunity have only gone there to just further their necks. As a matter of fact, some of them, women, are even more corrupt than men that got into political office. So please, let us make this point clear so that we can start challenging, even when we put the women, that this is not in any way undermine the need for us to have the affirmative action.
Yeah.
Minimum of at least 35% of women. Minimum.
Yeah.
But when we are clamoring for it, we must, like I said about the criteria for people elected into office, we must set that minimum standard to make sure that they fit the bill and they are not just appointed because they are women.
Fantastic. I think we can agree on all that. There's none of that that I disagree with at all. Inclusion is good, but it also should be inclusion of perhaps the best morally and in every way we can think of. Yeah. Women shouldn't have to meet. Yeah, we can all agree on that. Yes. Oh, please. In Nigeria, there are, for now, by law, only two genders. So let's not. We will stay too long on that. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So how do we transform the service climate? We increase quality of people that come. Hopefully, we try to make the political space less hostile. In Surulere, my best coordinate in the world is Surulere, where I grew up. I love the place. Recently, they had elections, and it ended up in stabbings and death. That scares people off. One of my retirement plans is to become chairman of Surulere local government. That's all I'm asking for. Seriously, I'm not joking. At some point, as happens in this country, people retire and then become councillors. It's not a starting off job. It's a job for when you have something to give back to your society. But how can I go back at the age of 75 at some point, and or whenever, and then the electoral process is by stabbings, and those are issues we need to put we need to repair. But the way we repair that is by restructuring the criminal justice system. That's something we've not talked about. There are so many things we've not talked about. I think with the coalition members that we organize this, we think we have something in mind. Yes, please go on. Is that?
Contributes to what Dr. Binda is saying.
Yes, please do. Please do.
Yeah,
yes. Councillor Aminu.
What you said so far. But what we need to realize is that to get credible people into government, we need to remove the money politics that we play in Nigeria. I just came back. I visited today most of the time. I think before the lockdown, we actually organized a workshop for teachers of Surulere local government and Lagos Island, both for their primary and secondary school teachers. This can be done, and I had Dr. Imafidon speaking earlier on as well. We are talking about the involvement of the diaspora in building our country, Nigeria. The government know the experience and the skill of the diasporas. You are one, Dr. Bengoduta. We've met, we know each other. We are friends. Dr. Imafidon as well, also a friend and colleague. So these are the things that we can work together. And I'm sure I've invited both of you to our session of Nigerian academics in the UK.
Yes.
It's only when we come together like that, we form a formidable team. Then when we go there to change things, to do things, then that is when they will respect us. But if we don't work together, then
we become rich pickings.
In the area of politics, what we need to do is that, you mentioned that people after retire from their day job, whatever, and so on, they can still go into politics to serve. Here we serve because we want to make a difference, not because of the money we're going to get there. How much allowance do they pay the MPs, the councillors, and so on and so forth? It's nothing to write home about. But look at the amount of money the senators, the House of Rep, the councillors, and so on and so forth, and the amount of money they get. So we need to change the way we organize our political system in Nigeria. It's a combination of both American system and British system. Then the councillor, I don't expect that role to be a full-time job. Here, the only way, the only reason why people do it full-time is that if you're a cabinet member, and then your role, your responsibility involved day in, day out meeting with the officers and other external agencies. So in that case, you can hold that position as a full-time job. Otherwise, every one of us, we have daytime job. I'm a lecturer myself, or I would say I was now, because I now run my own training and business now. Yeah. So these are the things that people can do without making it a full-time job in Nigeria. So I'm seizing this opportunity to invite Dr. India again and Professor Imafidon that we need to come together, we need to talk after this event.
Professor Ali.
See what we can do together.
Ali.
Thank you.
To give it a Thank you very much. I think we've answered that. Any other question, comment? The speaker who spoke mainly on education signifies the importance of nurturing. This is from Bode Olatunji, and a late comer, as we call them in Nigeria those days. Where is it? Yeah. The speaker who Bode Olatunji says, the speaker who spoke mainly on education signifies the importance of nurturing. To this end, I will want us to reflect on the need for us to build from within through proper empowerment and exposure by making national interest a priority. National interest is always a priority. Thank you very much for that, Bode Olatunji. Delivery of small chops again. Yeah, but we'll ignore that. Thank you very much, everyone. The proper, what they call vote of thanks is coming from our good friend, Professor Ali, who ought to have spoken here as well, but there's such a little time that he has sacrificed his paper, as well as Barrister Adebola. Yes, is there anybody who must speak? We have 2-3 minutes. Yes, please. And then we have the photograph session immediately after. And then we'll take the vote of thanks after that.
Okay, I know what we've talked about here actually affects most of the African countries when you talk about money in politics. And I've realized the honest people are less than the people that are corrupt. How do we eradicate that? Because I know when you're going there, it's like you're swimming against the tide. So how do we start? All right then. Thank you.
Before, yeah, you can keep coming on, Prof. But before then, the lady who just spoke now, she's a seasoned journalist. She didn't pay me to say that. I just feel I should say that. She will be, in case if she calls you out for an interview, because we have a little a space out there for short interview, just 1 or 2 questions. She will ask you about Nigeria. Just feel free to, bear your mind out as to what you see about Nigeria and what you want to see moving forward. Please. She can do that at any time.
Okay. Thank you. One thing that is unique about Nigeria, it's never been done anywhere in the world, is the NYNC. Whatever the sins of Dr. Yakubu Gowon, that is something that guarantees him a place in heaven. Because before then, the Hausas, the Igbos, they were little pockets of human beings just coexisting. After then, you sent your prime child at the age of 21 to 30 to a different state that they've never been to before. And it is statistically proven that the highest number of intercultural marriages in the world is by Nigerians. I don't know whether you know that. I'm afraid to dig that up. Why? Because someone leaves Enugu, goes to do NYSC in Lagos, and when she is coming back, she comes back with a husband. But remember, everybody in her community used to think that, have a stereotype about Yoruba people, but this one comes home with a husband. Somebody from Borno comes home with a wife. That intermarriage, that's what when you talk about unity that is artificial and unity that is impossible to disentangle. That's part of what is going to cement the relationship across all sections of the society, and therefore treat each other as one indivisible family. Because if I see that your future is connected to my future, it's impossible for me to say, I need a visa to go and see my in-law because somebody has now partitioned the place. Why should I, because I'm Igbo, need a visa to go to Lagos? Or because I'm Yoruba, I need a visa to go to Kano? It's impossible. And it is still going on. I know it's not perfect, 100%, but even if it's 60% of our graduates, the elite of the society and potential leaders that are removed because they tried it here, they failed. Up to now, David Cameron, with all due respect, is still trying to have a form of NYSC. And he called it the Youth National Scheme at 16, and he's failed spectacularly before he even got up. So Nigeria is a miracle that you can say you finish from the university and the only thing you do first is to go to another place that you know nothing about, that your parents have never been, and then you go and work there and interact with the people. Man, I think that's something that I know. Like you were saying, we don't celebrate the successes, but that is a blueprint for national integration. And nothing can break when you have your in-law that you gave your daughter to, and not just your daughter that is a doctor, your daughter that is a lawyer, that has skills. There's no way you can have biases against them, because that is now debunked. When she gives birth to a child, you guess what happened? The grandparent sends names. So when you see the names now that you have in your database of England, you can tell where they are from. In the database of Wales, you can tell where they are from. In Nigerian database, you can't tell where they are from because they have an Igbo first name, they have an Yoruba middle name. So that unity, like I said, settles all the artificial discussions that we have. So it doesn't matter whether you read Tribune or you read leadership newspaper. It's a joke because your cousin has already gone to ask for hand in marriage with somebody that you don't like. So what would you do if you don't have that person as an in-law? So I thank you very much.
Good evening once again. I'm seizing this opportunity to thank everyone that have tuned in, both physical and also online. Our special thanks goes to Supreme Court of Justice. This is a very unique event. It was planned, if I say, less than a week. But it wouldn't have been possible without the permission of Supreme Court. Please, can you give Supreme Court of Justice a round of applause? More so, how can we give vote of thanks without remember the Kent Law School? Because without them, we won't be here tonight. You can't just come, you can come with your thousands of pounds and so on. It's not about money. We go through some real serious, rigorous scrutiny before we can have it here. It had never happened before. We are making history here today. I'm so proud of every single person that are here tonight to witness this very unique occasion. And we'll be back next year. We're going to make it a culture. I must thank, I'm a bit gender biased. I must thank our moderator, that have managed to improvise, because we have some little glitches here and there. Please, can you give a round of applause to our Dr. Kitchen? More so, we have some of our people that are working behind the scene. They are not here. Someone like Malam Mohammed Saleh and the others and the members of our team. We have Mr. Mohammed Mudutela right there at the back. And then if I don't mention your name, please don't get upset. I must thank also, on a very short notice, we having our dear uncle there, Malam S. Bello. Please, can you give him a round of applause, please? Well, it is a pleasure because, as I said, I'm gender biased. Firstly, I went to Dr. Eki. Now I must also do the same thing again. We're having Ajia Rokia here. These are the people that work behind the scene. Without them, we wouldn't have had this fantastic event. More so, what will I do? I must, because of the time constraint, I would have loved to go to every single one of us. And we're going to keep you in the loop. That means we keep the communicate. There's still more things post-conference. So in as much we have your name and your details down there, we keep you posted on our future events. More so, I would like to acknowledge some of our keynote speakers that are tuning all the way from Lagos. I thank Comrade Olanrewaju Surajuddin for being patient with us. We all know what it's like. And again, I'm also thank our comrade from here, basically, from London. Yes, Councillor Aminu, which is my big brother. I must say thank you. Been very, very patient. Although he just came back from Nigeria, you can see he's quite fresh. So, more so, it seems I've seen someone I must acknowledge, although he's not there right now. That's our own Prince Ade Omale, the director of Diaspora Voting Council, UK. Please, although in his absence, we must give him a round of applause. And, well, I guess this is it. Basically, oh my, how can I live without, because now as we is okay, where even is having his hands up. Comrade Kayode, are you there, sir? Please, we have to take our pictures right now. It's time to leave. I thank Professor Mohamed Zana for being very patient with us under a very short notice. He managed to be here with us. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Well, again, we wish to say thank you to our president for being very enduring in terms of, in the face of everything. Long life Nigeria, long life photographs here or outside interview, I mean short interviews, please. We need the banner.
Move that television screen, we could use
the background, yes. Yeah. Is that possible? Yes, please.
Thank you very much. Okay, excuse me. Yes. Sorry, my apologies.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
We are online. We have to ready to go now. Thank you very much.
Let's grab
Yeah, I've hold it.
Yeah, we have to.
Ladies are trying you this way.
No, I'm trying to you first. Oh, there it is. Joe, is the mic on? Okay. So, can you? No. I want you to stand over there. A bit forwards. So, okay. 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 Is it on? Mm-hmm. Good evening. What's your name, please?
My name is Augustina.
Okay. Today, I don't know whether when you came here, you've actually got any information about Nigeria that actually is giving you some form of positivity.
Yeah, actually, well, I'm Ghanaian, but I have a lot of acquaintances that are Nigerian, so I'm very much interested. And yeah, I have a friend that I'm working with who is based in Nigeria at the moment, and he was telling me about the turmoil, but also I keep telling him about all the great things that Nigerians are doing in the diaspora. And he's saying that, oh, we have numbers. And I'm like, yeah, you have numbers, but you also have people that are striving. Yes. So, the whole of Africa is looking after you guys. So definitely I am very positive about Nigeria.
Okay. So when you came here today, when you were listening to everything that was going on, what were the things that sort of like gave you that sense of that the country was moving forward?
Well, as Dr. Dunton said, right, there are a lot of things that are being done but are not being praised enough, and everybody's shining light on the negativities. So I feel like as a continent as well, we need to do a better job in protecting Nigeria from the rest of the world, basically banning them and calling them corrupt or thieves and things like that.
Do you feel that the trajectory that Nigeria is going on, it can be a template for the rest of the African countries?
Well, there are things that are good and there are things that are bad, but when it comes to striving and finding a way where there isn't no way, then definitely that can be a template that a lot of African countries can take.
All right, thank you so much. I hope you had a lovely day today.
Yeah.
Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Good evening, sir.
Evening.
Okay. Today, the seminar that you came today, how do you feel about it?
I like such arrangements being done occasionally, so that one can come and say his mind and discuss issues on Nigeria or about Nigeria. So I do like it.
No, but I'm just saying that when you came here, did it get to your expectation?
Oh yes, because I know some of those who organized it, so I'm aware of what they could, organize or not organize. So yes, it met my expectation. I would have wanted more, but we don't have all the time in the world. Okay. So we at least did, or they did their best.
When you look at the trajectory that Africa is on, especially Nigeria, how do you think we are going to be able to move forward?
That is a difficult question. One, because many have not spoken the issue at fund on the ground. You see, you can't talk of clean politics when you have so many unemployed. You cannot talk of clean politics when you have so many poor people who cannot even have food to eat. That is one reason, how politicians use those local people to monetize politics. That is it.
How do we change the narrative?
It is not so overnight, but slowly but surely, if we have people also who know what they are doing, and here I'm talking of qualified elite people who can stand for election without paying anybody to vote for them.
Thank you very much, and it was nice talking to you, and I hope you had a lovely time this evening.
Thank you.
Have a lovely evening. Okay. Good evening. Hello. Okay. So can you come forward a bit? No, not too much.
Gotta breathe in as well.
Not too much. Yeah, we're all breathing in. Trust me. All right. Good evening. Please, can you introduce yourself for me, please?
Yes, I'm Eki Omorogbe. I'm from University of Leicester.
Okay. What I want to ask you is, when you came in today, what was your expectation?
Well, I'd been asked to be the moderator, and it's off.
Okay. Sorry, I know we got interrupted,
Yeah.
so we might have to restart again.
All
So-
right.
Okay, so what I'm saying is when you came here this evening, what was your expectation?
Well, I wasn't.
Can you introduce yourself to me, please?
Yes, of course. I'm Dr. Eki Omorogwe. I'm from University of Leicester.
You came in today. What was your expectation?
I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I'd been asked to be the moderator, but I did think that if Nigerians were involved, it would be a nice, lively event.
Okay. When you look at the trajectory that Africa is on, especially Nigeria, do you think there's a way forward when you look at corruption, when you look at transformation, when you look at infrastructure and security? What is your view on that?
Well, it can be depressing when you take things as a whole, but when you look at it in smaller chunks, perhaps you do see that there are light at the end of the tunnel, sort of, so to say. So, for instance, with governments, for instance, we used to have loads of heads of state in power forever, and that number is decreasing nowadays. So that's something. And I think with the younger generation, with the technological development in Africa, that we do have a good way of coming out of our malaise.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I hope you had a lovely evening. And because the time is a bit short, so I have to let you go so they can get your small chops.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I had a brilliant time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, good evening. Please, can you introduce yourself for me, please? Sir?
I'm Professor Chris Imafidon. I'm a multi-Guinness record world holder, and I'm a chairman of the Excellence in Education program.
Wow, that's fantastic. One of the things that today I got was there was more positivity in this room comparatively